What's going on, everybody? It's good to see you. This is Duck. Welcome to Duck's Why. I'm going to say what's up in chat. I wanted to do a stream talking about leadership today, and so as it turns out, I think that is exactly what we're going to do. I'll pin up a link in a little bit. I think that should be exciting. That should be good. And yeah. Just as we get going, it'll be interesting and cool to sort of hear from different people, how they think of leadership, and what kind of leadership experience you have. I also mentioned in the description, if you guys just want to talk about Diddy, if you guys just want to talk about alligator Alcatraz, I got chat up right here. So yeah, it's basically anything goes. Bob's here. What's up, Bob? It's good to see you, dude. Good to see you. How's your Sunday going? Hopefully well. I also have a Simon Sinek video and stuff too. I don't know if you guys want to watch a video, but let's see. Be cool if Bob wanted to come up. Oops. Let's see. Yeah, I've been thinking about leadership though. Today especially. Today of all days, your buddy Duck had some thoughts about leadership. Get that hat to say CIA for the wolves and shave. Hey, Talking Koala, good to see you. Yeah, I'll get a CIA hat coming up pretty soon here. This is my number one dad in the world hat. I'm very happy with it. And it matches my, I call these the Hawk Girl. Yeah, if it's the late night show, I call these the Hawk Girl headphones. That's pretty dope. And yeah, so leadership is such an important function. It goes all the way back. The sort of like, concept of modern leadership, you can date it back to Max Weber. He talked about management, so kind of in the workplace and stuff like that too. And yeah, so one of the sort of key components or key questions is like, who is a leader? What does a leader do? What makes someone a leader? And oh, Bob, yeah, I was gonna post the link. I'll post the link if anyone wants to talk about stuff. I'll just do it now. I was gonna show a video and stuff first, but whatever. We can vibe out. I'm gonna talk a little bit. I might not throw you on stage right away. But yeah, last week Taco jumped up for a little bit. And this is where you would come up. You would be right next to me. Yeah, you guys can also, if your leadership style is telling me to shave, telling me I look like homeless Jesus or whatever, like that stuff, that's cool. Yeah, I'll talk about Simon Sinek a little bit. We'll talk about leadership traits. It's interesting, if you guys are ever curious, anyone's curious, how is it the case that we have very public, public people like Simon Sinek, like, these management consultants, these TEDx speakers. Hey, what up, Lolo? Good to see you. Lolo Gachupin. That's a very stylish, I don't know if that's like a surname, a last name, but it's very cool. You have people that literally their job is to talk to Fortune 100 and Fortune 500 CEOs, and while they're putting content on YouTube, their second job is a content creator. We still, it seems so mysterious. What does a CEO do? What do they talk about? And so some questions that often come up are like, what is a leadership trait? How does a leader frame their ideas and thoughts and their thinking about a topic in order to manage a company? Or maybe some of the folks are religious. Or like some dumb beats said, Free Luigi. Who knows? Maybe you're big into politics. Maybe you're big into reform and transparency. We've got some anarcho-capitalists in the chat. Let's go. Let's bring it up, bring it out, everybody. And so while I'm talking about leadership, and I have a little bit of actual autism, so I'm here self-soothing, and I'm wondering, how do other people in the world, personally, me, Duck, how do other people in the world talk about leaders? How do they talk about leadership? When do people want leaders to tell them huge, audacious, almost these harrowing, risky ideas? And when is it okay for a leader to just sort of set the table to, help more people sort of understand what you do? And shalom to you, Eric Sachs, as well. We are studying leadership today. We're studying leadership. We're having a group conversation. If anyone has any rabbinical, I'm not Jewish, but if you do have rabbinical or Islamic or Christian references about leadership, those are Bible verses, those are Quran verses, those are Torah, Old Testament verses that I'd be interested to see in chat. Even though we don't have to, we can just talk about the psychology a little bit. We can talk a little bit about, whatever, all that kind of stuff. I was supposed to give you guys a link, wasn't I? Eric Sachs, I wouldn't say that, taking out the lunch you packed for work or whatever it is on the bus, having a little bit of discipline about that kind of stuff, being able to sort of see or sketch out sort of what time might look like, and then how do you act and decide based on that stuff? How do we, how do we imagine that someone who takes the bus, who takes Uber, who takes a bike, what type of leader can that person be? Shouldn't that person be asked the same types of questions that Simon Sinek asks a Fortune 100 CEO? Politics will never lead to human solutions individuals seek. A public position only leads to a target on the other candidate's back. They are either compromised or mucked up. From Pierce R. Yeah, to me, that illustrates again, that is a little bit funny. What's up, Pack Fresh? I didn't see your comment come up in the actual, in the little software I'm using or whatever. But good to see you again, Pack Fresh. I just pinned up the link. If you guys want to hit like, you guys don't have to subscribe, but if anyone wants to hit like, that's appreciated. Helps the stream. We'll get some more people on. Maybe we can get someone up on stage. And while we're doing this, let me see if I can figure out this video. This one right here. I'm just gonna start by covering, because I didn't respond to Pierce R. I would say that I would need to understand what leadership is and looks like. And I would need to understand sort of how people follow the leader, right? How those people make decisions, how they decide things because of what a leader might do. And so here's Simon Sinek. You guys, we're going super normie to start. We're going super normie, we're going super mainstream, because this guy does talk to this guy always talks to Fortune 500 CEOs. Chicken Sandwich 5 just dropped. Have you heard? What up, Matt? I don't know what that means entirely. I used to eat a ton of chicken sandwiches. I like vegan chicken sandwiches now. Sandwiches are really yummy. Very good. Let's hear normie, big dog, big man on campus, guy who people trust to talk to, not waste their time to make billions of dollars. That's maybe not what everyone wants to do, but let's just hear what he has to say about people. Let's just get to the point where we can hear what he has to say about leadership traits.
And you read articles and they're like charisma. I've known a lot of great leaders who you wouldn't even know they're the leader. They walk with their shoulder against the wall, right? So those things I've seen, yes and no. But the few things that I've seen universally about amongst the great leaders I've met, number one, and these things, number one and number two sort of go together. Number one is courage. Number one is courage. The courage to speak truth to power, the courage to be honest about my own failings, my own capabilities, the courage to be open about my failings and my capabilities. These things are excruciating. The courage to tell somebody something that is going to hurt their feelings Like leadership is an incredibly difficult thing to do. And courage, which then begs the question, where does courage come from? And I do not believe for 1 minute that courage is a deep internal fortitude where you dig down deep and find the courage. Courage for me is social.
Yeah.
So like, I have the courage to jump out of a plane because the parachute on my back, the external thing, gave me the courage. And so you need at least one person in your life, professionally or personally, to say, I believe in you, you got this, and if everything goes south, I'll still be there with you. That'll give you courage. Number two, closely tied, is integrity, which is to do the right thing. And weirdly, we all know what the right thing is, rather than doing the expedient thing. Like, I can't stand it when companies do unethical things and all the CEOs are dragged in front of Congress and they all say the same thing. We broke no laws. No, you didn't break a law by raising the price of your essential drug by 1,000%, but it's pretty unethical.
Yeah.
Right? Like, we all know what right is, and the law is a lower standard. And so the courage to have integrity and integrity driving my courage, like, those things go together. And the third one, I'd say, they're a student of communication. Because a huge part of leadership is the skill of listening and the skill of speaking in a way that allows people to not only to feel, listening in a way that allows people to feel heard, and speaking in a way that people can hear, as opposed to triggering people, et cetera, et cetera.
Cool. What happened? I got too much audio things on. Okay, cool. Yeah, that's a cool video. Thank you, Simon Sinek. Thank you for sharing that. And so, who knows? Maybe this is a softball. We've got people accusing leadership. Maybe on this stream, this is your buddy Duck's got to respond to something like this. It seems like it's possible to see that the way people in Western countries describe capitalism is totally different. Describe leadership. You know, I can go to Walgreens, I can look up the phone number for their CEO on the internet or something. And so I think about leadership way different, because a lot of people don't look to business leaders as being like the most important leaders in their society. They might not look to their church leaders to be the most important leaders in that society. And so, but this is interesting. If we take what Simon Sinek actually said to us there, and he said that the top two traits of leadership are courage and integrity. These were the first two things he said. You have to be able to speak truth to power, and you have to be able to make moral, ethical judgments. You have to be able to make moral and ethical judgments. Why is that? Why is it important to make a moral judgment or an ethical judgment? Why is it important that if somebody's doing something wrong, or they're doing the right thing incorrectly, or they're just doing something, right? They're doing something, and all of a sudden you're realizing this is impacting your team or your community in a way that you had not previously anticipated. These are the top two traits that Simon Sinek says leaders, sort of this natural leadership sort of capacity has. And so to me, the thing I think about is that while courage seems like it's close to being honest, irregardless of Simon Sinek telling us to be great communicators, be students of communication, be able to talk to anyone, be able to work with anyone, be able to elevate anything a leader does, be able to elevate that person, be able to make sure people are checking their ecology, they're looking around and they're understanding the core drivers of success for their community and teams, whatever they're responsible for. Be able to get people in the right frame of mind, putting people in the right place. To me, this is all communication. But courage, well, I know brave people. I know people that are really dedicated that aren't courageous in this sort of traditional sense. Let's see, we've got some comments in chat too. I'm gonna pull some of these up. So some dumb beats says, don't take much to be a landlord. Forget about it. Yeah, some people might be able to say that, well, look, to be a landlord, you have to have the startup capital. But who are you leading? At the end of the day, the way I see it, you can post a listing on some website. You're making decisions without having to pull people along to understand something. And this is just free market capitalism. That seems a little off kilter. I don't want to demonize landlords. I don't want to say it's not probably a lot of hard work, a lot of time spent, doing research. You take a big risk when you have a property, and you really need to have a return both on the rent as well as the capital, right? Sorry. So I don't want to demonize those people, but also, to some dumb's idea, I also have been in that position where, I see that, it seems like all of a sudden, I don't understand the decisions involving me. And it's like, well, if this is your property or something, self-control and discipline is a hard pill to swallow. Self-control and discipline. Yeah. Self-control and discipline. And thinking just about what Simon Sinek said, taking him a little bit in good faith, trying to understand what he means to speak truth to power, trying to understand what he means by someone making ethical decisions. Well, self-control is absolutely a, without being overly stoic. If I've got any Marcus Aurelius fans in the chat, good to hear from you. Good to see you. And it just seems weird when sometimes when you're, we sometimes might think that, delivering a great message on Sunday, if you go to church, or being a great, a great manager or a CEO or something, you have to do something. You have to be in control of yourself in order to get to that place. And what about politics? What about when we start thinking about people like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, or if you're a Trump guy, Marco Rubio is a guy that his whole career he's been very comfortable in front of a microphone. He doesn't need, a reporter, kind of feeding him questions, seeing sort of the best and worst of them. He's a great speaker. You can disagree with a lot of their ideas and the way that they say things, and I don't know where that was going. I brought up Marco Rubio, but yeah, what about in politics? Self-control and discipline has to be about being able to say the right things at the right times. It has to be about being able to give people a reason to be optimistic, or a reason to understand something, and trusting them to go out and do the right things themselves. And so if this isn't relating back, in my view, and I would love someone to argue me on this, that, a great leader is just someone that steps in and does something. A great leader does this. I would be more inclined to, gauge a leader as being courageous in the first place, or whatever word someone should use, as sort of a contrarian skeptic to, whatever, go someplace else. I don't need you to tell me what my personality needs to be like, so let's talk about that, right? Let's talk about that. Hey, Paleogenesis, we're just chatting. Good to see you. Oops. Yeah, and so that's one of the, I'm gonna put on some different music. That's also a very interesting sort of core component to even understanding leadership. Do I need to understand how different types of leadership roles might evolve or exist in order for oh, sorry, I don't speak German. Yeah, I don't speak German. I'm sorry. I'm doing good, Pythagorean. Good to see you. We got Pythagorean in chat. Play King Von. I don't have King Von on my thing. I think this is like trap though. This is supposed to be like trap. want to hear some good music. Yeah, so political leadership's an interesting one, and this is one of those. This is the type stuff, right? This is the type stuff. Do I have to understand how in the U.S. we think about leaders in different areas of life to understand how we also think about a leadership role like the President of the United States, or if we're thinking about the sort of missing gaps in our own political parties, or people on the news are like, they're not covering. It's like, okay, yeah, you are the person that represents my political interests, but still no one is talking about the political issues that I would have found important. Criminal justice reform, one of those, or people talk about pay equities. It's still a topic, right? Who are the people who are actually impacted by this stuff? Does a leader have to be able to sort of tease this stuff out a little bit? What happens? How does a CEO show authenticity when they're approaching these types of questions? It seems like a bunch of BS, right? A bunch of bull stuff. Some lead for power. This is, hey, what's up, walnut? Walnuts, plural. Yeah, I like ducks, you like walnuts, so this is cool. Some lead for power, some for money, some for glory. That's a great point about leadership. What's a leader supposed to accomplish in the first place? Does a CEO just exist to make money? I don't what was Barack Obama supposed to do as president? What about Donald Trump? Just do what he said he was going to do? The best for change. Those that seek power rarely know how to wield it, says Bob. Victor Sneller says, authoritarian, democratic or laissez-faire. Democratic. Yeah, democratic, I would say. It's difficult though, right? I'm always curious if in a democracy, there's both cases where, if we're talking about the institutions of a democracy, and this is like hyper normie speak, so no offense, but yeah, I'll put the headphones back on if somebody decides to come up. But yeah, in hyper normie speak, it's sort of interesting, because shouldn't you reach the point in a society where you make a decision to be laissez-faire, and you have to at some point in a democracy, versus like a social democracy, which is really interesting to talk about. But I would imagine what actually happens, the practical reality of what happens is, politician sees cars. Politician wants more cars on the road. Hypothetically, it's the year 1947, and some whiz kid in Washington D.C. sees this, and they talk about it a bunch. They have all these great conversations, and they decide, well, look, we just got done with the Second World War. We're the United States. We just got out of the Second World War, and we think actually that more cars on the road is going to be safer. It's going to produce enough wealth gains. It's going to produce enough opportunities. It's what people naturally want to do. They want to be able to travel around this massive open area. And so we really want to support these auto manufacturing things. And so you get to this point where after you are a leader by telling someone, okay, you get to a leader and you became this strong, recognized, respected leader with a bigger network because you told people to go buy cars and to support auto manufacturing. You were smart enough to know when you heard it that this was the right thing. This was the right thing, and you knew enough to know that this was going to change eventually, but you didn't know when. And so you're a good leader because what you did is you knew the right thing and you did that one right thing. And what you didn't go do was you didn't go tell these auto manufacturing CEOs how to run their business. And you wait for them to tell you when something is going to or needs to change. And so, hey, Tommy Benson from Pennsylvania's in the house, folks. What's up, Tommy? It's good to see you. It's good to see you. Oh, cool. Yeah, very nice. Very nice. Very cool. Yeah, and so I just got pulled off, guys. I'll go back to chat in just a second. And so this is, one of the, and so you also, while you're being the like a political leader and you have these very real network connections, you're talking about things that exist in the real world. You also are creating this sort of necessity of laissez-faire or liberal systems where you're not actually telling the auto manufacturers who are already now making cars how to run their businesses. That's laissez-faire. But that seems like it also goes the other direction. From my point of view, it also seems like there is the case where, and this has been a common criticism of the United States, it's also, without sort of like trying to cover it up, I think people deeply believe the United States has immediately competed for American companies as well. You reach a point where your way of doing business doesn't work the same way anymore. And so you push for liberalization. That's going towards authoritarianism from someone else's perspective. Do you guys does everyone here sort of understand that? Like, you don't have to understand it like I do, but that goes back to Simon Sinek, the video we had just watched. And Simon Sinek telling people, well, be a student of communication. Be a student of communication. Speak truth to power. You need a leader in that situation in the United States where you are telling people, you're courageous and brave and right enough to tell people that, this is ultimately, this is going the wrong direction, and we need leadership to help solve these problems that we just don't understand at all. Hey, Constantine and chat, good to see you in there. Yeah, classical music is cool. I might make a Discord soon. And yeah, it would be cool to, what's it called? It would be cool to, talk music or whatever, that kind of stuff. And so I didn't hear that from Simon Sinek while we're here. I didn't hear from Simon Sinek that one of the traits of a leader is understanding. One of the traits of a leader is understanding. Mauro Augusta Mejia, sorry, I'm sure I'm saying your name wrong, but hello, good to see you. Hello. Yeah, 'cause how can you be in the White House in 1950, be talking about cars, be talking about all these democratic and communist countries, and not in the first place you have a really deep understanding of what life is like in those places, what the economics are like, all that sort of stuff. Without that sort of understanding, how can you be a great communicator? How do you know when you're actually speaking truth to power? Courageous and confident are maybe two different things for the virtue ethicist. However you end up saying that yourself, but you don't, there maybe is always a place and time where leaders have a way to speak courageously. And there's also maybe a way to be courageous, pick the right topics, pick the right people to involve, get the right people in the room. And you also have some sort of sense of skepticism or fallibilism or, some self-doubt. You just know when you don't know. Knowing when you don't know enough. Algorithm? It's cool. I don't know why. Yeah, I've got a couple YouTubers on my own side that that pop up in my shorts feed when I'm doing shorts. So. Dems and Repubs are both for donor class. Yeah, the right people, and they're getting the right people to say the right things. I had a very painful to write post that I put out today that was about the Palestinian and Ukrainian content. If you guys want to subscribe, visit my channel or whatever, go check out the post. You know, and this is one of the absurdities that you don't hear on the news. You know, and it's not a conspiracy that, you know, if there is a peace treaty between Israel and Palestine or Ukraine and Russia, you need to be able to understand the perspectives of military leaders that are actually developing the strategy and plan. And you need to be able to figure out a way where, you know, the most sort of excited or misunderstood components where they are seeing this conflict evolve and there's not actually a base political reason for it. You need to be able to get to the point where those base political reasons that people want to talk about are ultimately drivers of a decision to stop fighting, right? You have this conditional in place where you just say that, like, look, if you guys in this room right here, if you guys can't figure out a way that the political ends we had talked about initially, the reason Al-Qassam attacked Israel on October 7th, and the reason Israel initiated a response that they probably knew was likely to bring in both Hezbollah in Lebanon, as well as Iran, as well as extend the conflict out. When you see this situation happening, you have to sit down those people and say, well, look, if you can't figure out a way to say those same exact things in a different way, you probably don't deserve to have these same sort of influence, informational, you know, kind of structural advisory positions anymore. And at the same time, if you feel that your perspective of these issues is a blocker, or the way that people approach them is or can or could be a blocker, well, you know, that's where a leader needs to be able to come in and say, well, we've got the right people in the room, folks. I want to be able to illustrate that from time period A to time period B, if we look at all of these indicators of where we came from and where we think we're going, we got the right people in the room. We got the correct messages out. We're all working together on the correct messages. And while we're doing this, the sort of point that people can see, the point that people should be able to see is that, you know, you just send those messages and signals a different way. And then finally you have peace in Israel and Palestine, right? That's the point, is that finally you have peace in Israel and Palestine. You have peace between Ukraine and Russia. You have dialogue between people. You have leaders necessarily having to change their worldview in the correct way. So that's stuff's really important to me personally. Yeah, that's what to me, I think it's like, why not talk to people? You know, I was a political science major. You know, you don't study leadership in comparative politics. You usually talk about constitutional limitations, which is interesting. What power does a CEO or a president have? What power does a CEO or a president have? How do you say those words, by the way? Do you know that CEO means Chief Executive Officer? Anyone can do that job. Do you know that? A president always reports to the United States, to the Constitution? You know, do you know that that's the actual oath that a president takes? Did you know that? Why not, right? Why not? You know, those are big things. And I did throw up the duck type stuff banner. If anyone wants to like the video and subscribe, it's super helpful. I love seeing you guys in chat and all this other nonsense, whatever. Um, got some union folks. I am God. Good to see you again. Hey, at what point do you think it will become common knowledge that, okay, that black people are more racist than white people? Yeah. So I don't think that's an effective leadership. We're talking about leadership tonight, I am God. I don't think it would be possible to lead from a perspective or a position that that there's these innate like group differences, not in perspective but in a normative way, right? You're not giving me a description right now. You're giving me an ought, right? And so I'm not saying that someone can't identify as a black person or can't identify as a white person or white people, you know? But I don't think a good leader could ever do that, right? Where, you know, where would that have been? That you have a good leader. You have a good leader. Someone truly multifaceted, someone really dynamic, someone that can come in and sort of, you know, work the front office, the back office, you know, kind of like a coach, right? You don't want a coach otherizing and different-sizing their players and not talking about what's going on in the real world, not talking about what people think they can contribute. You want a coach that can manage different gears. I don't know if you guys know about this, but wouldn't you want a head coach or a president who can manage in good times and bad times, all happy days, right? Those are both important things. Both important things. Oh, Jim's here. What's up, Jim and Victor? Good to see you. Not many people want the responsibility. Hey, Cool Sauce. Oh, hello from Pakistan. Hello from the United States. Good to see you. Let's see. Yeah, we were just talking about Pakistan. What's his name? We were just talking about something Khan. You have actually a former athlete who was prime minister or president. So yeah, but yeah, hope everything is well. And yeah, but you know, when you think about a head coach who can lead a team through a championship, through hard times, good times, they can. And this head coach is also someone that deeply understands their players, versus saying from the get-go that, you know, something crazy like, you know, depending on your race, this makes you more or less racist than someone else, right? Depending on your race, this makes you more or less racist than someone else. And being able to have those tough conversations, even, I think, is a leadership trait. Being able to understand that someone's experience or the facts that someone has and they're applying to the world leads them to believe this, leads them to think this is true. I'm not saying you're not allowed to have, you have to have no belief about racism or race, whatever you want to spend your time on, you know? And not even whatever you want to spend your time on, it's like, where did you learn this in the first place? But I strongly disagree. I don't believe that in a conversation about leadership, it's really difficult for me to see that a leader being an understanding person, being able to, you know, do big heavy dinkus lifts, right? I'm a big chungus. I'm like Thor. I'd rather be like Thor doing big chungus lifts. I'd rather be like Thor. I'd rather be working on my own business and stuff like this. And yeah, all that kind of stuff. Isabel, what's up? Hello. Bosses will delegate work to the staff. People don't have responsibility. All this stuff. Yeah, cool. Oops, where am I? Yeah. Yeah, and so I think you know, this is the other thing. If I bring up an important topic, by the way, if I bring up this is the actual duck type shit that we're gonna do real quick. This is the duck type stuff, guys. This is very me. You know, we talk about a hard leadership question or challenged, like leading through racism or leading through competition, leading when you have multiple groups, large groups in Palestine and Israel who have different roles and functions in that society. Al-Qassam are professional fighters. The IDF are professional fighters. That goes all the way from people who are just learning the first things about weapons and working in small units, chain of command, all the way up to the level of people who have access to highly confidential intelligence. And while this is happening, you have orders in both Palestine as well as Israel. You have multiple layers and orders of politicians and media communicating decisions that might or will occur. So that complexity and being excited about it, or having a way to approach it, right? You know, if I see that and that's too far away and I don't want to do it, that's not, to me, that's not duck, you know, that's kind of cultish to say. That's not type shit though, right? Being deeply understanding that someone might even approaching that question differently is something a leader has to be able to do. And that's in fact how you actually manage through multiple orders of decision making. And unity, that's your end goal. Your end goal is unity in that situation. Your end goal is this, your end goal is that, your end goal is this. Is that going to be, you know, if I am able to just say that and then be a student of communication, be a student of the world, and go out and be a little bit better because I'm able to say that, shouldn't that be right? I forgot how we got into all that, but yeah. Faraz, yeah, if you want to, I wouldn't recommend sharing a secret in chat. We just unmasked Batman, folks. I just want to point out on chat that this is what the power of leadership, that some of you have said to me in various forms, through both, you know, clapping and communicating pigeons, as well as you know, smoke signals that we didn't know where Batman or who Batman was. And as it turns out, we have Faraz here. Faraz, this entire time you've lied to us. Hey Rosengren, we are talking about leadership a little bit. I'm talking about leadership. I think chat's talking about leadership. We can talk about whatever too. We can talk about anything. And yeah, Bob's talking about gentrification. I saw Bob says if gentrification is real, and it is, then let it hit critical mass, then everything collapses. Yeah, if anyone can define gentrification in chat, you've probably seen it around you before. No idea, leadership or something. Yeah, who knows? We got into talking about, we watched a Simon Sinek video real quick, a little bit back. He talked about the top 3 leadership traits that people have. Is courage, courage meaning speaking truth to power, being honest, integrity. So in a less corporate sense, means you're able to be a moral agent and make ethical, moral choices. Meta-ethics is an interesting topic, so if anyone wants to drop some meta-ethic references about leadership, that's cool. And then communication. You're a lifelong student of communication. You know that the way that you see the world and the way that your language captures the world is able to correspond to how other people see the world, and therefore how leaders make decisions. Yeah, and a lot of Israel chat. Yeah, you know, we're trying to take that leadership approach a little bit. I was. If anyone wants to come up, I have a link on stage. If anyone wants to debate or discuss. I know the internet loves debate. If anyone has ideas, you can just share, right? That's the cool part about me being the host is if you guys want to fight me, if you guys want to do a debate, that's okay. If you guys don't want to be like an internet lolcow or whatever the term is, I don't know. I don't understand it that much. But yeah, if you want to just share your opinions about a situation, whether it's Palestine or alligator Alcatraz or any of that stuff, feel free to come on up. Feel free to click the link. It's pinned to the chat. It should be. And if you guys want, hit like and subscribe. Hit like and subscribe, please. If anyone wants to come up, hit like and subscribe. And yeah, that's exciting. Free Palestine, says someone. What idea do you want? I don't know. The best idea or the worst idea? Either or. The AI Willow chip. No. I just set up a new Chromebook. I got it for $50 on clearance. Very lucky to find it. It has a MediaTek 520. So I know about the MediaTek 520 chip. It has AI for efficiency, but AI Willow chip. I don't know that one. What question do you have that you really want to know another's opinion that doesn't align with yours? On leadership, yeah, I would love to hear more about leadership in action. And I started this out. I started this stream. Some of you weren't here. I started the stream by saying that, like, look, yeah, you know, if you have leadership experience, and I would interview you, right? Maybe if you guys want, we can do. This is another option. You can just interview people, and I can say, you know, tell me about your leadership experience. When have you applied it? And maybe you say that, like, look, when I was younger, my parents asked me and my parents to do, me and my brother to do chores. Me and my brother, me and my sister, whatever. And so my leadership experience is taking household duties. That's a leadership activity. I modeled good behavior, and just as an example or something, I modeled good behavior. I made sure that we completed the actual thing that we said we were going to do. And so to me, those are my sort of first two leadership traits that I think of, is modeling behavior, being a peer role model, and also being able to actually understand what we're doing, right? I need to know that I understand it, and then I can go tell people that, you know, that we're able to complete something. But what does that look like in action? I don't know. Is there something easy or hard to do? What's easy or hard, folks? How does one highlighting the social acceptance of racism without being labeled? I don't have that same experience, so I also myself, there are, like, I don't know, there's like the culture, there's like Black YouTube channels. I've been on panels. I sit and chat and talk to people. People are allowed to display their personality. People are allowed to feel comfortable being themselves. You know, I didn't experience any exclusionary behavior. You know, I think there's always a very adult opportunity too, in those types of conversations and spaces, to highlight differences in experience or opinion, right? That's, you know, so I don't see it the same way. Yeah, and just for transparency, we'll leave that. I don't like how it looks. So I'm gonna delete that one comment. Sumdum likes the question. Yeah, I dislike, my preference, how I view the utility of something, how I view how something affects me or impacts me. Do I qualify or do I quantify first? Why would I make that decision? Let's do this real quick. I see there's a way more than enough people here. There's 8 people here. And so if you haven't hit like yet, I appreciate it, but there's more than enough people here for us to take each other seriously. And we can even ask very softball questions. If you're in a leadership position and you're dealing with complexity, do you qualify or do you quantify stuff first? How do you approach understanding a new work center or a new idea? How do you approach introducing yourself to a new coworker? Maybe you don't need to answer that one. That's sort of talking down to someone while talking up to them. I don't like that kind of stuff. Yeah, if you're a big leader, if you're a big strong leader, would you encourage your team to challenge you publicly on the metrics you report? Maybe you're Benjamin Netanyahu. How would Benjamin Netanyahu react if politicians inside of Israel were challenging him on the measurement of the success of the war in Palestine? How would he react? What would happen in Palestine? What about in Palestine? Could we see public disagreement between Al-Qassam and Hamas? Is that possible? What's the actual reality, right? Not just these one or two news stories, but what's the actual reality about a community center, not a religious center, but a community center like a church in Palestine speaking out against the war? Those are questions. How do you guys qualify and quantify things? Yeah, Rosengren says, I keep getting asked to be a sergeant at a prison that I work at. I have anxiety about running a prison. I feel it's too high risk. Yeah. That's always interesting. I'm obviously not law enforcement. I'm just a regular guy. And I don't work at a prison either, so I don't have that context. Same context, different context, as it turns out. But yeah, so I think just the role someone plays in ensuring that the processes and objectives of that prison work center sort of change a little bit. It's just but they don't actually change, right? They're not hiring you to change something. They're hiring you because you have to change your relationship to those things. If you formally follow procedure because you yourself want to ensure that in the prison setting, all the prisoners as well as yourself and your coworkers stay safe, your job is now to, in some sense, communicate how to do that and encourage people to keep exploring the best way to foster that ecology and environment that doesn't create that creates more opportunities than it does problems for the types of things you're looking to achieve. So one of the sort of, and you may not have optionality all the time either, which is not a great thing, but shouldn't it be the case that like you have people that are understanding, to some extent. You're not allowed to just be like a black shirt. You understand that, there's still some sort of control or power relationship. So how does someone navigate that? Yeah, you guys are going to have to start. Yeah, Bob, if you want to either delete or start giving people, the 3-minute timeouts, guys, you guys have to back up those ideas a little bit more. I don't care. I don't know if this is like latent some other meaning or if it's exactly the idea that you're talking about, but Some Dumb Beats says, I think it would be more the issue of conservatives wanting to LARP victim when speaking about systemic racism. Yeah, systemic racism is interesting. Systemic racism is very interesting because it references the same exact systems most of us already know. When you drive through to pick up your dry cleaning because you got a great job, or you go to get dinner for your family, systemic racism talks about those same systems. Systemic racism talks about those same systems. And so for just whatever reason, right, at least trying to understand that when we think of the benefits of those systems being distributed in some way, even if it's organic, the fact that in both tellings of those stories, those go to different types of people that you can actually sociologically or economically study, that itself is information. And so I think you have to work way harder when you say that and no, we're on the same page. I'm so sorry, I read that wrong. Yeah, if you want to LARP victim about something, my bad. Yeah, but when people say that someone is a victim, and I'm so sorry, right? Apologizing. I'm not saying I'm a leader, but that's also a leadership trait. I read this incorrectly. I read it too fast. It was my mindset, so I'll think about that. Hopefully that's cool. But yeah. Yeah, I think people have to work really hard to make these grand sweeping claims. And so why, it's not about silencing speech, but, there's lots of stuff. Who knows? Lots of stuff, yes? There was no reverse genocide in Rwanda. Yeah. Oh. Rational actor theory. Yeah. Rwanda, so I forgot, I took a class on the ICC back in the day or something, but yeah, and so it's not that it's not like that crazy or serious of a thing, but yeah, if I remember correctly, there was a lot of talk about the way in which the sort of crimes committed would be accounted for, who could or should be held responsible, and how the sort of collective storytelling process would work. And so yeah, that's crazy. Anywho, Some Dumb Idea says, so where is the historic backing to Israel's fear of a one state, everybody gets democracy then? Yeah, so that's interesting. I think the historic backing to Israel's fear is that people saw that even when Palestinians would pay Israel taxes, Israel would provide some security and infrastructure support, and for a long time they still did, was that the Palestinian, what is it, the PLA or PNA, didn't have enough autonomy and sovereignty to govern what was becoming a heterogeneous, not a homogeneous population, right? And so this is something that, critics from the Arab world would say that if you have that Arab society is normally heterogeneous and it can just manage itself. An Islamic society can do this, or Arabic society can do this. A liberal society is the one that cannot do this. A liberal society is the one that struggles, and you have these lingering issues over different groups. So that's my response to Some Dumb Idea. Yeah, marginalized groups or something. So what people normally talk about. I think that still has to be universalized in terms of justice. It's you getting serious. I think it's me. So what I think it is I think this is me trying to understand what that type of claim might be like, trying to understand what some of the social the social discussions would be about. What do old people talk about? What do young people talk about? I don't know. All right. Yeah. Get there at some point, or you won't. Yeah, some people talk about like good faith dialogue and stuff like that too. I'm not gonna I don't think I need to referee anything or whatever, but this is why being courageous and speaking truth to power is also it's a double-sided sword a little bit, right? A little bit, it is a double-sided sword, because the ways in which people think about stuff, always sort of applies to other people than themselves. So there's like a moral agency sort of question as well. Yeah, there's lots of questions, lots of ideas. Lots of ideas and questions. Where did I go? This one. Walking, running, eating, sleeping. What else do I enjoy to do to clear my mind, Bob? Walking, running, eating, sleeping. Some point I want to buy a bike. That's probably not going to be for a little while. Philosophy. Philosophy is a good topic. Yeah, I like learning. Learning's a good thing. Learning's a good topic to clear mind. Different experiences. Hardship's always a good way to clear the mind. That's, not like a meditation. I'm more Buddhist than I am Stoic, but Bob, to answer your question, no, it's from Restream. This is a streaming service. Yeah, but so I always try and remember that, I have a $50 Chromebook, and I think the camera was $65, or the camera and microphone. It's like $65. That's like 1/10 the price of some streamer setup. It's way more than other people have, and I don't know why streaming setup would be the first way that someone talks about that, but if you do, that's always one of the things I like doing. Bob, that's awesome. If you live in the woods, that's great. Do you think racial issues are getting worse? No, I think leadership, I think when we look at roles in people play in a society, and roles people want to play, roles they enjoy playing, maybe that's what's so fucked about the stream, is that we're talking about leadership only. I haven't been a leader my entire life. I've always been great in like a peer role, modeling behavior, sort of understanding how things are operationalized, and being able to sort of do that stuff. Go do that stuff, right? That stuff's always been really exciting for me. That stuff's always been really good. You know, clarifying a priority is something I've enjoyed doing. But some people are correct when they say that, well, actually clarifying a priority isn't always about the organization. Clarifying a priority isn't always about society writ large. Maybe it is. And so if this stream is a little bit, you know, screwed, fucked, whatever word you want to say, one of the reasons is that there's lots of roles that contribute to solutions and problem creation in any society, you know? And so my mind is cleared. You know, if I could walk in the woods, I would do that as well too. I would definitely do that. Can you say I follow and believe in the teachings of the Communist Party of China from Robert's Sexton or something like that? Yeah, sure. Yeah, Chinese capitalism is very interesting. Some people can ask or wonder how much technocratic influence exists, or if it's considered technocracy when you're talking about very specific sectors and subsectors even of their economy, the economy. Right, so I like biking. In China makes a lot of great bikes. They make a lot of bikes, and they make a lot of really like good Western marketable bikes now too, a decent amount. But that's still a subset of both their like traditional low tech and high tech manufacturing. You have people that are sitting there cutting and welding alloy pipes and steel pipes together and making bikes that way. You know. You also have highly automated factories that are printing 3D printing carbon fiber and stuff like that. And so, like the Chinese Communist Party is probably curious about what's going on and, you know, what they need to know. But it's also probably true that at, you know, times and places they're saying, well, look, I don't totally care about a CEO of a bike company in China. I don't care about their COO or CMO. I don't care how you're marketing this product. More what I care about is, like, you know, is the total umbrella of stuff healthy or happy? Do people feel that way? I don't know. Because if people feel that way, that's sort of the truth of it, some people say. Ugh. China trains makes me envious. Do I approve of Belt and Road Initiative? Yeah, in like there's some theory where there's a multipolar world, and you know, like those sort of, I don't understand those big sweeping questions necessarily, right? Like, you know, it makes sense if China is a great builder and exporter of technology that they can contribute to those things, but it's also not great if, you know, you're using leverage to get people to buy a ton of stuff that they don't know how to use, they don't know how to maintain, and that doesn't blend into a liberal economy that is going to look like they want to eventually. China trains makes me envious. China's got cool trains for sure. Very cool trains. Very cool trains. Just as linear as you would prefer. I don't know if that's to me, I am God. I don't know if that's to me. Yeah, at some point you have to decide on a linear trajectory, I would think. I would imagine that's how it is. If you forget why that's possible, that's a bad thing. It's a very bad thing. I'm a friend of China? Maybe. Yeah, I mean, the nation state, I don't Like, maybe, I don't know. Music is super distracting, bro. Okay. Let me see, what do we got here? I thought I had epic trap or something. Here's down tempo. What's this like? You guys still hear me okay? What if I do this? Can you guys hear me all right still? How's the mix? Tell me how the mix sounds, guys. I hope y'all are doing good. All right. King Shaw, good to see you. 673 official. Hope you're doing well. Hope life is good. I hope you're happy. I hope all of you guys are happy. I hope everyone here, man, woman, folks, I don't care what letters of the alphabet you use. I hope you're well. The answer to the universe isn't love, it's 42, folks. The answer to the universe is 42. If you would ever have concerns about how to do that, why you might do that, just say what's up in chat. That's it. This is Ducks Y. My name is Nathan Swift. I appreciate everyone joining us today. We've covered a lot of ground on leadership. We're not closing the stream out. It sounds like I'm saying goodbye, but this is just another way to say hello. Mauro Augusto Niha says, Israel and Saudi normalizing relations and both inspiring a global reconciliation between Jews and Muslims. But Saudis need to be strong for that to happen, and the Iran regime needs to go. Geopolitics, folks. That's just geopolitics. We're vibing a little bit. We've got some duck type shit going on. Like and subscribe if you guys want to like the stream. I always appreciate seeing folks in chat, familiar names, new faces, new ideas. It's all cool. Oh yeah. Yes, sir. Close enough to the real name. Nathan Swift, because we are on the internet. Speaking of leadership, maybe that's the main topic. Maybe someone will want to jump on stage. I still have the link pinned for the Restream studio. Yeah. How about leadership when we're talking about multipolarity? The idea that we are doing power sharing. Doesn't matter where we are in the world. There's no such thing as hegemony. There can't be. And so now we require all leaders to be both global and regional leaders. We require them to be experts on global finance, global economics, political economies, as well as their own nation states happenings, the desires and demands of the people. Hey, Switchblade, good to see you. You can call me Nate. Yeah, that works. I'm not Nazarene, nor would I claim myself to be God, as one has said, without saying it. That must have been a tough parenting lesson, folks. That must have been a very brutal parenting lesson. You're gonna have to tell this kid, he's gotta be able to tell people without telling people that he is the son of God. I don't know who PewDiePie is. He's a streamer, I think. I think I know he's PewDiePie, but yeah. One for all and all for one, though. Yeah, that's an interesting question about leadership as well. I've got a quick thought or meditation for you, if you will. Putting it together, it's about put together, and I think now it's done. So it's very interesting to think that people who don't play the social role of a leader in a society, are they themselves always learning leadership lessons from people or are providing leadership lessons to leaders? If you play the leadership role in a society, you have to learn leadership lessons from other people. But doesn't this make another person a means to an end versus being an end in and of itself? Immanuel Kant's one philosopher who said you can't do that. It's the essence of our being that we're moral agents. And so you're not allowed to address anyone at all, without considering their moral status, their free will, their ability to use reason and view the same categories and concepts in the world: space, time, matter, their own perspective. So if you're a leader, isn't it problematic that you believe your opportunity to become a better leader is put on the shoulders and backs of others? That seems highly problematic, folks. Highly problematic. So what do? Do you make life harder for yourself? Does that make life easier for others? Why is that an ethical principle? When does it become an ethical principle? How do you navigate those moral situations where you're not just deciding the right thing to say, but you're deciding the right thing to do? You have the right intention. You're doing it for the right reason. In some sense, this goes back to our first conversation that Simon Sinek didn't call out a leadership principle based on understanding, based on the ability to understand and apply knowledge accurately and precisely. And so, yes, Switchblade, I am inspired by both Buddhism as well as a little Eastern philosophy. I used to have a pretty old copy of the Tao Te Ching while I was studying political science in college. It was a great book. And talking about division, I think talking about division, if you're being transparent as a leader, is an example of Buddhist right speech and intention in action. Has to be. And now this is where you guys can tell me, everyone in chat, if I'm right or wrong about something. I want you to know if I'm right or wrong about this. So if I'm a leader, I have to just really strictly understand the organization I'm a part of, whether that is the United States, or if you're a governor, it's your state. If you are a CEO, it's your company. And these might seem overwhelming. Whatever situation you find yourself in, I have to understand the function. This is what Buddhists say about the universe, is that you have desire, you have this emotional way that we react, and even if you have maturity in this, the impulsiveness, the attachment, the desire, this is the way we often view ourselves. Leader of anything, CS, let me know. Pick an organization or whatever. And so in Buddhism, you have this. If we take Buddhist precepts and we talk about leadership, we would start by understanding, well, every group, every subset and macro system within a society has people of varying levels of social and emotional maturity. That inter and intrapersonal, the way we relate to ourselves and others, individuals always have a different level of maturity, and that's always attachment. It doesn't mean it can't be mature, it doesn't mean it can't be part of some larger story, but it's attachment. And then the layer below that is you have functions. something that's very similar to functionalism. A motor burns gasoline. In many cases, it powers a car. What a beautiful idea. What a beautiful idea. What a beautiful idea. We didn't even get to the bottom of it yet. And so in Buddhism, if you're a leader and you understand how people relate to the function, how they form desires, and this intrinsic, extrinsic motivation around things, then you have to understand how people actually operate to go do something, how they operate to go achieve something. What's most important? How philosophical is that process? Can a function be philosophical? Does it have to be kinetic or mechanistic? That's a fascinating question to me. I love that one. I love that one. Vegan since you were born. Very cool. Vegan and secular as well. Very cool. Very cool. Why are they trying to... Hey, Freshly Wild, good to see you. Why are they trying to cancel you? Who knows? Buddhists might tell us that the problem, if you're a leader and you're leading in this environment, and this is where you stop. This is where you stop. You stop at this point where it's only the aspects of our desire and our functions that are recognized that can do something. Someone mentioned the word linear and collinear. It's only when those functions reach some point that you actually see the picture of what you're leading. And why wouldn't it be? If you got something wrong, if you made a mistake as a leader, a Buddhist spiritual person, whatever, they might tell you, yeah, you know, you read the book right. You read the book the right way. You measured it the right way. You qualified and you quantified, folks. You qualified and you quantified and you did your homework. And it might even be true that there isn't a solution within your desire, your function to be a leader to solve that problem. Sometimes the case, unexpected events just happen. It's part of the, and this is the funny part, it's part of the definition. It's part of the definition of what attachment and what function is that attachment and function isn't supposed to be this deterministic thing. Is a function necessarily deterministic? No. How do you define it? What's the equation for it? Does that exist? Where? What does the actual equation say? It says something completely different. It says something completely different. It's very controlled. It's very small. Are you even able to... I ate mayo 2 years ago because the BK Lounge Burger King put mayo on my sandwich. I didn't feel good. But yeah, I tried to avoid it. Mayonnaise has egg in it, so yeah. But yeah. So that's a little bit on Buddhist leadership. At some point, you might get to the lack or the emptiness. The lack or the emptiness of things. Is there a problem with this? Yeah, I think so. If I had to challenge the Buddhist conception, the introduction to leadership, and why in the West? Why in the West do we not think of leadership this way? Is that, well, it's only if you really want to take out the sharp edges of leadership or any other social role. That you might see that leadership's not as easy as some people say it is. It's actually a lot harder. It's 10x harder. Oh shoot, Smellwater's here. Good to see you. Eggs are half my diet, bro. Oh my god. I need more space for my body and my arms and all this stuff. I need to expand a little bit. let my desire, let my function, let all my Buddhist leadership traits, let my teacher traits about leadership or whatever it is, I don't know, the little brother sort of vibe. Let me let that stuff come out a little bit. Let's vibe on that a little bit, guys. Here, I got you. I'm gonna flip this up. Tell me if this is, I hope this isn't too bad. Did the audio just pop? It's a little bit of audio gain. I hope you guys are doing good. My name is Duck, aka Nathan Swift, aka Duck. The channel is DucksY. I appreciate you guys being here. I appreciate everyone being here. If you guys want to like and subscribe, we're just talking about leadership today. I want to know what you know. I want to know what you don't know. We talked about Buddhism. We talked about complexity in complex places on the planet, like Israel and Palestine. We talked, obviously, a little bit about capitalism and like the role a CEO might play. What do you guys think? What does a leader do in socialism? What would AOC do? Ain't that such a big, damaging question? How do you build that up? I want to know. I want to know. Yeah, and so this is like maybe the big version of Buddhist leadership, right? Big version of Buddhist leadership, and what's wrong with it is, so I have this attachment, this desire, this way to relate to things, and I can only do that a certain way. If I have to put my hat on, it's because I love this hat, right? This was a gift, I like this hat, and I grab it with my hands because I know my hands and arms extend to put it on my head. So my hands provide things. My hands and arms, these are providers. You know, this holds things out, this stabilizes things when I do this. My hand retracts, I pick up my hat. These are providers, these are protectors. So I'm providing or putting this hat on maybe for some aesthetic reason. Aesthetic, I'm comfortable. I have a little bit of autism, so I like self-soothing. I like the feeling of a hat on my head. Just being totally honest with you guys, totally honest. And so what I love about this hat is part of my attachment, my complex emotion or relation to this hat is I just like it because it was a gift and it's mine. And it's also, I like this hat because I can put it on my head, right? I have control of my aesthetic appearance is what this hat tells me that all the time, folks. So that's my intrinsic desire and function, and even that is bound by those Buddhist moral principles of right speech, right intention, and right action. I shouldn't, if I know this is going to be the nicest hat and elevate in a social situation, I shouldn't do that. I shouldn't wear my nice hat. I shouldn't wear my nice hat just to tell stories to people. It's not the game, folks. It's not the game, folks. It isn't the game. And so my whole body is doing this function attachment thing, actually, as a leader. Boy, that is a lot to pick on. That is a lot to pick on. What a responsibility. That is what a Buddhist might say about leadership in the first place. I don't know this Simon Sinek guy. Very Western American idea. I'm not saying it's a horrible idea to talk about courage. I'm not saying it's a horrible idea to talk about being a student of communication, to be a student of lots of things, but that's a little criticism. That's hard to make sense of that. You know, at some point in a workplace, for example, you might have to sort of identify the reason, the cultural values, the sense of attachment, and what you expect the control mechanism to be in order to put a hat on your head. Is that the best way to do it? Maybe not. Maybe that is too linear. That's too linear. That is just a weird form of attachment itself. You have such a desire to be a leader that now, and this is what Buddhist thought can be like or feel like sometimes, this paraconsistent sort of tumbling, wrapping over itself. Because I'm a leader and I want to be such a great leader and I want to understand what my company is like and I want to be a good leader for everyone on my team and everyone that I impact, I'm now asking the wrong types of questions about leadership. I'm asking a question which isn't the way that people came to that conclusion in the first place, that they like their hat. They like that their arms are these providing, safekeeping, sort of relaxing energy, consuming, signaling type sort of things. You didn't hear it the right way the first time. You didn't hear it the right way the first time. You came to a conclusion which was maybe an empathetic or sympathetic thing to do, but it wasn't understanding. You didn't appreciate while you did that. Duck, Nathan Swift, you messed up big time. Let me tell you why you messed up so big time here. You messed up big time because you didn't take the time in the first place to try to understand how you could understand this if you were so curious about it, and that at the end of the day, you yourself would have these own problems with attachment and function while you were doing this. So to me, that is Buddhism in a nutshell. That sort of line of thinking, and that nothing concept is always sort of top of mind, that when you fail, did you fail because of that? Maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe not even. Maybe not even, folks. Let's see. Switchblade's got a comment. He says, leaders limit people's rights. Or he, she, they, sorry. Leaders limit people's rights. Everyone is a leader in their own way. Leaders comply others to be disciplined the more they work and get more work out of them, mostly for their own gain. Yeah, productivity. That's a very bold claim. Productivity and how we define it, how we get to that point in time, is absolutely a constraint in business. It's absolutely a constraint in business. We tell people how to live their life, how to be. And so why do we have this? Is this a perception or is this reality? Which one of these is it? I would think that if someone becomes more efficient, shouldn't I think that they learn something? I would think that is how our mothers and fathers tell us to learn about this kind of thing too. But I would also think that mothers, fathers, grandparents tell us to be creative. I didn't work so hard for you to not be able to do some of the things you want to do. And when it's your time, you can decide if you want to do the same thing or do something else. Hey Beto, good to see you. Buddhism, you are the eye of the storm, Hindu response. Yes, but there's still the storm. That's too deep for me to unpack. Yeah, no, that's not too deep for me to unpack. That's interesting. That's interesting, dude. Nar, bro. Nar, man. Yeah, so this is almost, to me, Beto, I'm almost pulling out like maybe this is my bias, but I'm almost pulling out a Cartesian dilemma. The Cartesian position, I think, therefore I am. And so if I'm a Hindu, I'm sort of accusing the Buddhist person. The Buddhist person says very wisely, very concisely, you are the eye of the storm. You're the eye of the storm. You're as much as whatever it is, you're a function, you're a perspective, as much as there is a storm. Okay, I understand that. But then the Hindu responds to them and say, well, how do I know that, yeah, okay, I get it, but who are you asking about who you are or what you're doing in the first place? That doesn't, and a Buddhist would say, well, the storm itself, as it turns out, is the one that answers that question, right? Storm, or maybe it's the eye. I don't know. I can't answer that. And the Hindu says, yeah, but you're still going to the storm to answer that question? Why are you changing the topic? I didn't, says the Buddhist. Meaning you didn't, which is funny. That's some weird religion stuff, folks. I love that. That's a really cool comment. Let me know if I nailed that one, guys. Because we are on YouTube. We are on YouTube right now, folks. In Buddhist terms, this means we are in the eye of the storm. And there's still a storm. This is my channel. Everything I do here is just because I stumbled into it. My name is Nathan Swift, aka Duck. The channel is called Duck's Wide. We are being powered by Restream right now, which is a great software provider. They give people a lot of powerful tools with just a couple clicks. It gives you a way to engage with your audience and all this stuff. So thanks for joining. If you want to like and subscribe, yeah, it's just more really great to see people here. Get new ideas wherever they come from. Marijuana, hey, what's up, Marie? Didn't know Obi-Wan became a streamer after the Clone Wars. Oh, snap. Looks like Attack of the Clone stuff for sure. All the other ducks out there were a gaggle. That's pretty brutal. Oh, Maru's not going to subscribe. I understand that. Keep those subscriptions clean, folks. One of my favorite subscriptions is Pangburn. I've got a couple news subscriptions. A couple of the streamers I enjoy following. It's all good. The eye is no self. The storm is the observer. Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. And so at some point, I'm guessing you have a storm and then also that storm falls off or something. Quack, quack. What's up, Smellwater? We are all everyone and everything always. Heck yeah. Heck yeah, folks. Heck yeah, everybody. The duck makes you easy to find, although I always run into the actual ducks, end up etching them too. I love that idea. I love it. That's beautiful. If you're finding ducks in nature, that's very cool, Mr. Beto. Mr. Beto, very cool. Very cool, folks. Well, we covered a lot of ground on leadership. I don't know if I have any final thoughts since it's my stream, powered by Restream. If I had to share a final thought, yeah, at some point leaders are measured by their efficacy, but people that measure leaders also have to be self-reflective in order to sort of put together the total ecology that might exist. More importantly, if you can simply say, in my perspective, if you are going to work harder than people, and it's not because you have some specific objective at all times, but because you're so committed to the purpose you told people. The reason that if you're going to be a leader and have that responsibility, if you can tell people the reason you took that responsibility in the first place, you can tell yourself about the people that depend on you. And if you're able to go out and build groups of like-minded and diverse people to push that up a hill, that's awesome. That's great. That's great. It's really good, right? Find inspiration in simple things. If you're a leader, this was one of the problems that I posed earlier. Who is Jesus Christ to you, says Ogler? 1 second. I'll answer that in 1 second. One of the hard questions I posed was, don't people in leadership roles have to learn about leadership from people who aren't leaders, and doesn't that make those other people a means to an end rather than an end in themselves? And so you're learning about leadership in a way that can't be a moral principle. It doesn't have a moral principle behind it. That seems so odd to me. So that's why if you're a leader, go find simple lessons. Take on hard challenges. Try and think about how you would solve a problem in your own country, at your own company, your own community. A problem from one person. Take on complex challenges so you can think about how you bring a great energy or a great sort of what's it called? A great persona to solving challenges and just having interactions with one person. Take lessons away. Have conversations around things that are a lot smaller than the problems you're actually tasked with solving. Oh, glory Jesus Christ to me. Folks on the channel will mention Jesus Christ's life was written about literally in the gospel. He was the Son of God who died and all this other stuff and did all this for your sins and left a great narrative and story behind. I don't know if you're still here in chat, but yeah, I was raised Catholic and I'm an atheist now. So to me, Jesus Christ is most often who other people tell me he was. That's cool. That's cool. Yeah, I don't have to even say Jesus Christ is a mythological being or something. I can say something a lot simpler, like, yeah, I can grant that, aspects or the sort of the core thrust of the story might be right. And just in the age of the internet where everybody wants to fight and debate about things, my God, I don't know what that is. Leadership is outworking others while engineering ways to keep them all moving through the same direction while constantly letting them outshine you in important ways, consistent daily. You manage 50 employees. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Very cool. Neat. Very cool. I believe you, Beto. I believe you. I am no fight, just curious. Yeah, if you want to debate, if you wanted to click the link and argue about Jesus Christ, if you have something different, I'm not trying to duplicate the line or whatever it is. But yeah. I appreciate that. Thank you. I appreciate you. Appreciate it. All right, guys, I'm going to call it the stream. Beto, the technical leader, always good to see you. Everyone else who's still here, good to see you. If you said hi in chat, good to see you. And yeah, for the time being, have a good night, and that's it. Take care.